Captain Daniel Cooper wiped the dust from his visor as he walked through the crystal caves of Drakkar 7. The planet was supposed to be empty, just rocks and minerals waiting to be cataloged. His small team had been surveying the area for 3 weeks, and they had found nothing but boring stone formations. Until today. The cave system went deeper than their scanners had shown. Daniel had wandered away from the main survey area, following a strange blue glow that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. His team was busy setting up equipment half a mile behind him. He knew he should have waited for them, but something pulled him forward. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Daniel stopped and his breath caught in his throat. There, collapsed against the far wall, was a creature from legends, a dragon. It was huge, maybe 40 feet from nose to tail, with scales that shimmered between deep purple and midnight blue. But those beautiful scales were scorched and burned. Deep wounds crossed the dragon's side and wings. One wing was bent at an awful angle. The creature's breathing was shallow and labored. Daniel had grown up on stories about dragons. Every species in the galaxy had tales about them. The Valorians sang songs of dragon wisdom. The Kresh told stories of dragon warriors. Humans had their own Earth legends brought from the old world. But most scientists said dragons were myths, just stories told around campfires. This was no myth. This was a living, dying creature that needed help. Daniel activated his communicator. Amy, Kyle, Linda, you need to come to my location, slowly and quietly. You won't believe what I found. What is it? See, Captain? Amy Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speaker. Just trust me. Bring the medical kit, the big one. Daniel moved closer to the dragon. Each step echoed in the vast chamber. The creature's eye opened slightly. It was golden, bright as a sun, and filled with intelligence and pain. The eye watched him approach. Easy there, Daniel said softly. I am not going to hurt you. I want to help. The dragon made a sound, something between a growl and a whimper. Daniel could see the wounds more clearly now. These were not natural injuries. The burns had the distinctive marks of plasma weapons, the kind that were banned by Galactic Council law. Someone had hunted this magnificent creature. Daniel knelt beside the dragon's massive head. The creature was hot to the touch, fever burning through its body. And then he opened his water canteen and carefully poured some water near the dragon's mouth. A long purple tongue emerged and lapped at the water gratefully. That's it, Daniel whispered. Small sips. Footsteps echoed behind him. His team entered the chamber and stopped dead in their tracks. Holy stars, Kyle Bennett breathed. Is that what I think it is? It's a dragon, Linda Hayes said, her voice shaking. An actual dragon. This will change everything we know about galactic history. Forget history, Amy said sharply. Daniel, we need to leave. Now. Whatever did this to it might come back. We cannot leave it to die, Daniel said firmly. He looked at his team. Would you leave any intelligent being to suffer like this? Linda moved forward slowly, her scientist mind overcoming her fear. The wounds are severe. Plasma burns, at least 3 days old. Infection has set in. Without treatment, it will die within hours. Then we treat it, Daniel said. We don't have supplies for something this size, Kyle protested. We use what we have. Linda, what do we need? Linda knelt beside Daniel, examining the wounds with her scanner. Antibiotics, lots of them. Burn gel for the surface wounds. We need to set that wing somehow. And it needs fluids, probably hundreds of gallons of water. The team worked through the afternoon and into the evening. They used every medical supply they had brought for themselves. Daniel gave most of his water ration to the dragon. Kyle rigged a makeshift splint for the damaged wing using support poles from their equipment. Linda administered carefully calculated doses of medicine, hoping the dragon's biology was close enough to other species they knew. The dragon remained still through it all, only that golden eye tracking their movements. Daniel stayed close to its head, talking softly, explaining what they were doing. He did not know if the creature understood his words, but it seemed to calm at the sound of his voice. As the twin suns of Drakkar 7 set, Amy set up a camp inside the chamber. We should work in shifts, she said. Someone needs to watch for whoever did this. I will take first watch, Daniel said. He sat with his back against the dragon's side, feeling the enormous heartbeat thrumming through the scales. You all get some rest. Kyle hesitated. Are you sure this is smart, Captain? We don't know anything about dragons. It could wake up and eat you. Look at it, Daniel said quietly. Yes, this creature is in pain. It is afraid, and someone tried to murder it. I think it knows we are trying to help. His team settled into their sleeping bags, though Daniel doubted any of them would sleep much. He stayed awake, listening to the dragon's breathing slowly grow stronger and more steady. The fever seemed to be dropping. Hours passed. The cave grew cold with the desert night. Daniel shivered in his thin uniform, but he did not move away from the dragon's warmth. Then, just before dawn, he heard a voice. Not with his ears, but inside his mind. Why do you help me, small one? Daniel jumped, looking around. His team was asleep. No one had spoken, but he knew somehow that the voice came from the dragon. Because you needed help, Daniel thought back, hoping it would work. Because leaving you to die would be wrong. The golden eye opened fully, focusing on him with laser intensity. I am Kyrinth, last guardian of the old ways, and you, human, have done what no being has done in 1,000 years. You showed compassion to a dragon without seeking reward? I am Daniel, he thought, and I would do it for anyone. I know, the dragon's voice filled with warmth. I can feel your heart. But you must know the ones who hunt me are still out there. They will return. You have placed yourself in great danger. Daniel stood up and looked into that ancient golden eye. Then I guess we need to figure out how to protect you until you can fly again. Dawn light filtered through the crystal formations, casting rainbow patterns across the cave floor. Daniel's team woke to find him sitting cross-legged in front of the dragon, both of them perfectly still. Amy approached carefully and touched his shoulder. Captain, are you all right? Daniel blinked and turned to her with a strange smile. The dragon's name is Kyrinth. We have been talking. Talking? Kyle rubbed his eyes. Dragons can talk? In a way, Daniel said. It is telepathic. When I touch him, we can share thoughts. He has been showing me things, memories of his people. Linda pulled out her scanner, her hands trembling with excitement. This is incredible. Telepathic communication suggests a neural structure far more complex than we imagined. Captain, do you realize what this means? It means we have even more reason to protect him, Daniel said firmly. He stood and faced his team. Kyrinth is not just some animal. He is the last guardian of ancient knowledge in this sector. His people were hunted to near extinction centuries ago. The poachers who hurt him want his scales. A single dragon scale sells for more than our entire ship on the black market. Amy's expression hardened. How long until they come back? Kyrinth thinks they will return within 2 days. They want to make sure he is dead before they harvest the scales. That's barbaric, Linda whispered. Kyle paced the chamber nervously. Our mining ship has basic defensive shields, nothing meant for combat. If they come back with weapons strong enough to hurt a dragon, we won't stand a chance. Then we need help, Amy said. She looked at Daniel. We should contact the Galactic Council, request military protection. Daniel shook his head. By the time they send ships, it will be too late. So the council moves slowly. Besides, most of them do not even believe dragons exist. So what do? Kyle asked. Daniel walked back to Kyrinth and placed his hand on the dragon's scales. He closed his eyes, and the telepathic connection opened again. Images flowed between them. He saw ancient dragons flying between stars, their bodies somehow surviving the vacuum of space. He saw great councils where dragons shared wisdom with younger species. He saw the wars that came later, the fear and greed that drove hunters to destroy these magnificent beings. And he saw something else. A law, old and almost forgotten, written in the first days of the Galactic Council. Daniel opened his eyes and smiled. There is an ancient sanctuary law. Any species can claim protection over an endangered intelligent being. If we invoke it, the council must respond immediately. But we are just a mining crew, Linda said. We do not have the authority. Any human can invoke it on behalf of humanity, Daniel replied. I am going to claim Kyrinth under human protection. I am going to tell the entire galaxy that we will defend him. Amy stared at him. Daniel, that could start a diplomatic incident. The poacher guilds have connections everywhere. Some council members profit from illegal trades. You could make powerful enemies. I know, Daniel said quietly, but it is the right thing to do. He pulled out his communicator and switched it to wide broadcast mode. This would send his message to every relay station within 20 light years. Within hours, it would reach the Galactic Council headquarters. This is Captain Daniel Cooper of the human mining vessel Wanderer, and I am transmitting from Drakkar 7. I hereby invoke the ancient sanctuary law on behalf of the human species. We have discovered a living dragon, designated Kyrinth, who has been illegally hunted and wounded. As of this moment, Kyrinth is under official human protection. Any attempt to harm him will be considered an act of war against humanity. I call upon the Galactic Council to witness this declaration and enforce galactic law. He released the transmit button. Silence filled the cave. Well, Kyle said finally, we just made ourselves either heroes or the biggest fools in the galaxy. Probably both, Amy muttered, but she was already pulling up defensive plans on her datapad. If we are doing this, we do it right. Kyle, can you reinforce the cave entrance with our mining equipment? Create a choke point. Yes? I can rig the tunnel to collapse if needed. It will trap us inside, but it will also keep them out. Do it, Daniel ordered. Linda, keep monitoring Kyrinth's condition. How long before he can fly? Linda ran her scanner over the dragon's wing. The bones are knitting together faster than they should. His biology is remarkable. But even with accelerated healing, he needs at least 5 more days before that wing can support flight. We need to buy him that time, Daniel said. Over the next hours, the team worked frantically. Kyle used mining lasers to reshape the cave entrance, creating a narrow passage that could be blocked with a controlled rockfall. Amy set up their few defensive shields and calibrated them to cover the entrance. Linda prepared more medical supplies for Kyrinth, mixing compounds she hoped would speed his healing. Or Daniel stayed with the dragon, their minds linked. Kyrinth shared more of his history. He showed Daniel how dragons could form bonds with other beings, linking their life forces together. Such bonds were rare and sacred, given only to those of pure intent. You would make a worthy bondmate, Daniel Cooper, Kyrinth's voice echoed in his mind. But the bond is not given lightly. It would change you, tie your life to mine. You would gain some of my abilities, and I some of your human resilience. We would share pain and joy alike. I am honored, Daniel thought back, but let us survive the next few days first. A low rumble echoed through Kyrinth's chest, and Daniel realized the dragon was laughing. By nightfall, their defenses were as ready as they could make them. The team gathered around a small heating unit, eating ration bars and trying not to think about what might be coming. Amy's scanner beeped. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. We have ships entering orbit. 3 of them, heavy cruiser class. They are hailing us. Daniel stood. Put them through. A rough voice crackled over the speaker. Human vessel, this is Captain Vex of the Salvage Guild. You are harboring stolen property. Surrender the dragon corpse immediately, and we will let you leave peacefully. The dragon is alive and under human protection, Daniel replied calmly. Leave now or face consequences. Vex laughed, a harsh sound. You have 1 mining ship with no weapons. We have 3 battle cruisers. I will give you 1 hour to reconsider. After that, we are coming down, and we will take what we came for. The transmission cut off. Kyle looked at Daniel with wide eyes. What do we do now? Before Daniel could answer, Kyrinth's voice filled all their minds at once, making them gasp. Do not fear. I have sent a call across the stars. Help is coming. What kind of help? Amy asked aloud. The dragon's golden eyes gleamed with ancient knowledge. The kind that sleeps in the spaces between worlds, waiting for the day when the galaxy remembers compassion. You have awakened more than you know, Daniel Cooper. High above the planet, the 3 battle cruisers began their descent. The hour of reckoning was coming. The hour passed too quickly. Daniel stood at the cave entrance watching the sky darken as the 3 battle cruisers descended through the atmosphere. Their ships were massive, bristling with weapon arrays that could level a small city. His own mining vessel sat useless in the distance, completely outmatched. "They are landing 2 miles from our position," Amy reported, her voice tight with tension. "Infantry transport launching. I count 30 armed mercenaries heading this way." Linda worked frantically beside Kyrinth, injecting another dose of healing medicine. "His wing is stronger but still not ready. If he tries to fly now, it will shatter completely." Kyle stood by the detonator for the cave entrance charges. "Say the word, Captain, and I bring the whole tunnel down. We will be trapped, but so will they." Daniel felt Kyrinth's presence in his mind, calm despite the danger approaching. "You should leave, Daniel Cooper. Take your people and go. This is not your fight." "You are wrong," Daniel thought back. "You became our fight the moment we decided to help you. We do not abandon friends." Through their bond, Daniel felt the dragon's surprise and gratitude. Kyrinth had lived for thousands of years, but this simple human concept of loyalty seemed to touch something deep within him. The ground shook as heavy boots marched closer. Daniel could see them now through the cave entrance, 30 mercenaries in combat armor carrying plasma rifles. Leading them was a tall figure in black armor, decorated with trophies from dozens of hunts. "That must be Captain Vex," Amy muttered. Vex's voice boomed across the rocky terrain. "Humans, this is your last chance. Walk away and you live. Stay and you die with the beast." Daniel stepped into the entrance, making himself visible. His team moved to stand beside him. 4 humans against 30 trained killers. The odds were hopeless, but Daniel felt no fear. He felt only certainty that this was right. "The dragon is under human protection," Daniel called out. "You are violating Galactic Council law." Vex laughed. "The Council is 1,000 light years away. By the time they arrive, we will be gone and you will be dust. Now move aside." "No," Daniel said simply. Vex raised his rifle. The mercenaries behind him did the same. 30 weapons aimed at 4 unarmed humans. "So be it," Vex said. A brilliant light exploded across the sky. Everyone froze, looking up. A massive tear in space opened above them, crackling with energy that made the air itself hum. Something huge was coming through. Then another tear opened. And another. 3 shapes emerged from the rifts in reality, each one as large as the battle cruisers still hovering in orbit. Dragons. 3 more dragons, and their scales shimmering with colors Daniel had never imagined. One was silver-white like starlight. Another was deep crimson with veins of gold. The third was emerald green with patterns that seemed to shift and move. The dragons descended, landing around the cave entrance with earth-shaking impacts. The mercenaries stumbled backward, their weapons forgotten. Even Captain Vex stood frozen, his rifle lowering. The silver dragon spoke, and its voice filled every mind present. "I am Sarathiel, eldest of the hidden clans. The one you hunt is under our protection now." The crimson dragon, massive and powerful, fixed its gaze on Vex. "I am Vexrin, and I have ended armies greater than yours. Leave now or face the consequences." The green dragon, smaller but radiating ancient wisdom, moved close to the cave entrance. "I am Mithera, or healer and keeper of old ways. Step aside so I may tend to my kin." Daniel and his team pressed themselves against the cave wall as Mithera glided past them. The dragon was 30 feet long, graceful despite her size. She approached Kyrinth and touched her snout to his. "Brother," she said softly, her voice like music in their minds. "You have found remarkable friends." Through his bond with Kyrinth, Daniel felt a flood of emotion. Joy, relief, and something deeper. Hope. Outside, Sarathiel spread his enormous wings. They blocked out the sky, casting shadows across the entire area. "You hunt dragons, Captain Vex. You seek our scales for profit. You have violated the oldest laws of civilized beings." Vex found his voice, though it shook. "The dragons are extinct. Everyone knows this. These must be some kind of trick. Yet genetic experiments or holograms." Vexrin laughed, a sound like thunder. "Extinct? No, hidden. We retreated from the galaxy 1,000 years ago when beings like you hunted us for sport and treasure. We watched from the spaces between dimensions, waiting to see if the younger species would grow wiser. Most did not, Sarathiel continued. But these humans, they are different. When they found our brother wounded and dying, they did not see profit. They saw a person in pain. They risked everything to protect him. Mythra emerged from the cave, her healing work complete. Kirenth will fly again within the day. His wounds are mended. The three dragons turned their attention to Vex and his mercenaries. The men were backing away slowly, their courage completely broken. Return to your ships, Sarathiel commanded. Tell your guildmasters that the dragons have returned. Tell them we do so because of humanity's compassion. And tell them that any who hunt us now will face not just our wrath, but the wrath of our human allies. The mercenaries ran. They stumbled over rocks and equipment in their panic to reach their transports. Within minutes, the three battlecruisers were lifting off, fleeing into orbit and then into hyperspace. Daniel let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Amy grabbed his arm for support, her legs shaky. Kyle sat down hard on the ground. Linda just stared at the three massive dragons with tears running down her face. This changes everything, she whispered. The entire galaxy will know. Dragons are real, and they chose us. Sarathiel turned his ancient gaze to Daniel. Come forward, Muddy Human called Daniel Cooper. Daniel approached on unsteady legs. The silver dragon lowered his massive head until they were eye to eye. You invoked sanctuary law to protect our brother. You risked war with powerful guilds. You stood against armed killers with nothing but courage and compassion. Why? Because it was right, Daniel said simply. Because Kirenth needed help, and I could give it. I would hope someone would do the same for me. Sarathiel was silent for a long moment. Then his voice filled Daniel's mind with warmth. Kirenth has chosen you as his bondmate. This is a great honor, one not offered in a millennium. Do you accept? Daniel looked back at the cave where Kirenth was emerging, his wing now whole, his scales gleaming with renewed health. Through their connection, Daniel felt the dragon's hope and friendship. Man, I accept, Daniel said. Then come, Sarathiel said. We will perform the bonding ceremony, and you will become the first dragon-bonded human. But know this, such a bond is forever. Your life will extend to match his. Your souls will be linked. You will share strength and weakness alike. I understand, Daniel said. Amy stepped forward. Captain, are you sure about this? Daniel smiled at his team. I have never been more sure of anything. Kirenth emerged fully from the cave and moved to Daniel's side. The dragon lowered his head, and Daniel placed both hands on the smooth scales. Light erupted between them, brilliant and pure. Daniel felt energy flowing through him, changing him, linking him to Kirenth in ways he could barely comprehend. He gasped as knowledge flooded his mind, thousands of years of dragon memories and wisdom. At the same time, Kirenth experienced human emotions with new intensity, feeling Daniel's love for his team, his sense of duty, his simple desire to help others. The light faded. Daniel stood unchanged on the outside, but he could feel the difference within. He was stronger, his senses sharper. And in his mind, Kirenth's presence was no longer a visitor, but a permanent companion. It is done, Mythra said softly. The first bonding in 1,000 years. Sarathiel looked at the small group of humans. Your people have given us reason to return to the galaxy. We will not hide anymore. But this new age needs guidance. Daniel Cooper, will you serve as ambassador between dragons and humans? Daniel looked at his team. Amy nodded. Kyle grinned. Linda wiped her tears and gave him a thumbs up. Yes, Daniel said. We will. High above, more tears in space began to open. More dragons were coming home, answering the call. The galaxy was about to change forever, all because one human chose compassion over fear. 3 months had passed since the bonding ceremony. Daniel stood on the observation deck of Sanctum Prime, a neutral space station at the heart of the galaxy. Through the massive windows, He could see dozens of ships arriving from every corner of known space. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session, and every species wanted to witness what came next. Kirinth's presence hummed in the back of Daniel's mind, a constant comfort. The dragon was in the ceremonial chamber below, waiting with Sarathiel, Vexrin, and Methera. 15 more dragons had emerged from hiding in the past weeks, drawn by the news that it was finally safe to return. Or nervous, Amy asked. She stood beside him in a crisp new uniform. She had been promoted to Chief Security Officer for the Human-Dragon Alliance, a title that still felt strange to all of them. Terrified, Daniel admitted. I am about to speak to representatives from 5,000 species. What if I mess this up? You will not, Kyle said. He was adjusting a holographic display that would show the assembly some of Linda's research. You faced down mercenaries and bonded with a dragon. A bunch of politicians should be easy. Linda rushed over, carrying a datapad. Daniel, you need to see this. The medical results just came back from the test trials. The dragon blood compounds we synthesized have successfully cured Valorian bone rot. 17,000 patients are going into remission. That is incredible, Daniel said. Yes, it gets better, Linda continued, her eyes shining. We have approval to start trials for 6 more diseases. The dragons have agreed to donate blood samples voluntarily. We could save billions of lives across the galaxy. A chime sounded through the station. All representatives to the council chamber, a calm voice announced. The session begins in 10 minutes. Daniel took a deep breath. Through his bond, he felt Kirinth's reassurance flowing to him like warm sunlight. We face this together, bondmate, Kirinth's voice echoed in his mind. As we always will. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room with seats rising in tiers all around. Thousands of beings filled those seats, representing every major civilization in the galaxy. Daniel had never seen so many different forms of life in one place. There were the tall and elegant Valorians with their crystalline skin. The small, quick-moving Frel with their 6 limbs. The massive Kresh warriors. The floating energy beings of the Luminar Collective. And hundreds more. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform. The 4 dragons waited there, majestic and patient. Daniel and his team walked down the long aisle to join them. Every eye in the chamber watched their approach. The council speaker, an ancient Valorian named Celestine, stood at her podium. This session will determine the status of dragons within galactic society and evaluate the human claim of alliance. Captain Daniel Cooper, you may present your case. Daniel stepped forward. His hands shook slightly, but Kirinth's presence steadied him. Honored representatives, 3 months ago my team discovered Kirinth, wounded and dying from illegal hunting. We chose to help him, not knowing what he was or what it might cost us. We simply knew that a living being needed aid. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. That choice led to the discovery that dragons are not myths, but real, intelligent beings who have hidden from us for centuries. Through my bond with Kirinth, I have learned why they hid. They were hunted nearly to extinction by species who saw them only as resources to exploit. A harsh voice interrupted from the assembly. Dragons are dangerous predators. They should remain in hiding for the safety of all. Sarathiel's voice boomed through the chamber, bypassing technology and speaking directly to every mind present. We are no more predators than any of you. We eat, we think, we love, we create. We hid because you made the galaxy unsafe for us. Now one species has shown us that compassion still exists. That is why we return. Another voice called out, this one from a Kresh representative. Why should humans lead this alliance? They are newcomers, barely 50 years in space. There are older, wiser species. Mythera stepped forward, her green scales catching the light. Age does not equal wisdom. We have watched the galaxy for 1,000 years from our hidden places. We have seen old species grow corrupt and new species rise with fresh hope. Humans showed courage and kindness when it mattered most. That is why we choose them. Celestine raised a hand for silence. The question remains, what do the dragons want from this alliance? Nothing, Vexrin said, his crimson scales gleaming. We offer freely what we have. knowledge, in partnership, and yes, our blood for medical research if it saves lives. We ask only to exist in peace and to share the galaxy with beings who will treat us as equals, not resources. And what do humans gain? Another representative asked suspiciously. Daniel spoke again. We gain the same thing everyone gains, a chance to learn from an ancient wise species, access to dragon knowledge that could advance our understanding of science, culture, and the universe itself. And we gain friends. Friends, someone scoffed. This is politics, not a social gathering. Kyle stepped forward, activating his holographic display. Images filled the air above the platform, showing the medical breakthroughs from Linda's research. This is what friendship produces: cures for diseases, solutions to problems that have plagued the galaxy for generations. And in 3 months, working together, we have achieved what decades of isolated research could not. Linda added, every species here can benefit from this alliance. The dragons are willing to work with all of you, not just humans. But it was humans who took the first step, who showed them it was safe to return. The chamber erupted in debate. Species argued with each other, some supporting the alliance, others opposing it out of fear or jealousy. Daniel watched it all, feeling overwhelmed. Then Kirinth moved to stand beside him. The dragon's massive presence silenced the room instantly. Enough, Kirinth said, his mental voice reaching everyone. You debate and argue while missing the simple truth. Daniel Cooper and his team saved my life expecting nothing in return. That is the foundation of this alliance. Not politics, not profit, but genuine care for another living being. He looked around the chamber, his golden eyes touching on representative after representative. How many of you would have done the same? How many would have risked your lives, your careers, your safety for a stranger of another species? Silence fell across the chamber. That is why we choose humans, Kirinth continued. Not because they are perfect, but because when faced with suffering, their first instinct was compassion. That is the quality this galaxy needs most. Celestine looked moved by the dragon's words. The council will vote, all in favor of recognizing the Dragon-Human Alliance and granting dragons full rights as galactic citizens. Lights began to glow across the chamber as representatives cast their votes. Daniel held his breath. The count climbed slowly. 60%, even 70%, 80%. The measure passes with 83% approval, Celestine announced. Dragons are hereby recognized as a protected species with full citizenship rights. The Human-Dragon Alliance is officially acknowledged. Cheers erupted from parts of the chamber, though some sections remained silent or hostile. Celestine continued. However, there is a concern. Some members fear human influence growing too quickly. There are calls for restrictions. Before Daniel could respond, something unexpected happened. A Valorian representative stood, one Daniel recognized from the news. Chancellor Viridian, one of the most respected diplomats in the galaxy. I propose an alternative, Viridian said, his crystalline voice ringing clear. Instead of restricting the alliance, we embrace it. Let humans and dragons establish an embassy here on Sanctum Prime. Let them teach other species how to bond, how to cooperate. My own people have songs about dragons from our ancient past. Perhaps it is time we all remembered those old friendships. Another representative stood, a frail scientist. I second this proposal. My research teams wish to collaborate with Linda Hayes and learn from dragon biology. One by one, more representatives stood in support. What had started as suspicion was transforming into curiosity and hope. Celestine smiled, the first genuine smile Daniel had seen from her. Then it is settled. Construction will begin immediately on the Dragon-Human Embassy. Captain Cooper, you and your team will serve as the first ambassadors. Daniel felt Kirinth's joy mixing with his own through their bond. Amy was grinning. Kyle pumped his fist in the air. Linda was crying happy tears again. But as the session ended and beings began to file out, Daniel noticed a group of representatives in the back corner who had not voted in favor. They watched with cold, calculating eyes. The battle for acceptance was won, but Daniel sensed that not everyone was happy about it. There will be challenges ahead, Kirinth said quietly in his mind. Some will resist change. Then we will face them together, Daniel thought back, just like we faced everything else. As they left the chamber, Sarathiel approached with news. 5 humans have been selected for bonding trials with young dragons. If successful, there will be more bonded pairs within the month. The future was unfolding faster than Daniel had ever imagined. The galaxy was changing. And he stood at the center of it all, linked soul to soul with a dragon, building bridges between species that had never existed before. 6 months after the council vote, Daniel stood in the main hall of the Dragon-Human Embassy on Sanctum Prime. The building was a marvel of combined architecture, designed by both human engineers and dragon wisdom. Crystalline spires reached toward the stars, while warm, carved stone created welcoming spaces inside. It was a symbol of what 2 species could accomplish together. Amy walked beside him, reviewing security reports on her datapad. We have another situation, Daniel. Someone tried to sabotage the medical shipment heading to the Outer Rim colonies. Daniel frowned. Again? That is the 3rd attempt this month. The pattern is clear, Amy said. Or someone does not want dragon medicine reaching the public. I traced the last sabotage attempt back to a pharmaceutical consortium. They stand to lose billions if our cures become widely available. Kyle joined them, looking frustrated. It is not just medicine. Someone hacked our communication systems last night. They tried to access the dragon genetic database. The same people who hunted Corinth, Daniel said quietly. Through his bond, he felt Corinth's concern from across the station where the dragon was teaching a quantum physics class to eager students from 20 different species. Linda rushed in, her face pale. Daniel, we have a bigger problem. I just got word from Valorian Space. Chancellor Viridian collapsed during a council meeting. He is in critical condition. The doctors say it is poison. He's something designed to look like natural illness. Daniel's stomach dropped. Viridian had been their strongest supporter, the one who convinced other species to trust the Alliance. Who would do this? I have been investigating, Linda said, pulling up data on her pad. There is a group calling themselves the Purity Coalition. They believe dragons should have stayed hidden. They think humans gain too much power too quickly. Viridian was speaking out against them publicly. Amy's jaw tightened. So they silenced him. We need proof, Daniel said. We cannot accuse anyone without evidence. Through his bond, Daniel felt Kyrinth arrive before the dragon entered the room. The massive purple dragon had to duck through the doorway despite its generous size. Bondmate, I felt your distress, Kyrinth said. Oh, what has happened? Daniel explained the situation. Kyrinth's golden eyes darkened with anger and sadness. This reminds me of the old days, before we went into hiding. Fear and greed turning people against those who are different. We cannot let history repeat itself, Daniel said firmly. But we have to be smart about this. Sarathiel's voice echoed in all their minds. Come to the garden chamber. All bonded pairs. Immediately. They hurried to the embassy's central garden, a beautiful space filled with plants from 100 worlds. Sarathiel waited there with Mithra and Vexrin. Around them stood the 5 new bonded pairs, humans linked with younger dragons who had been born in hiding. Among them was Pilot Lieutenant Peter Grant, bonded with a swift silver dragon named Zephyr, or Engineer Hannah Cole stood beside her bronze dragon partner, Ember. Scientist Victor Hayes, Linda's brother, had bonded with the wise gray dragon Scholar. Medic Sophie Turner was paired with the gentle white dragon named Mercy, and security officer Jake Morrison stood with the fierce black dragon called Shadow. We face a conspiracy, Sarathiel said without preamble. Forces that want to destroy what we have built. They poison our allies. They sabotage our work. They spread fear and lies. What do we do? Peter asked. Fight them? Vexrin growled, a sound that shook the windows. I could end their conspiracy in a day. I am a warrior. Let me show them the consequences of threatening dragons. No, Daniel said firmly. Violence will only prove their point, that dragons are dangerous. Anna, we have to be better than them. Mythera nodded approvingly. Wisdom, young bondmate. But how do we stop them without force? Daniel thought hard, feeling Chironth's intelligence mixing with his own through their bond. An idea formed, one that made both of them excited. "We expose them," Daniel said. "Not with accusations, but with proof. And we do it by showing the galaxy what they are trying to hide." "What do you mean?" Linda asked. "The Purity Coalition wants people to fear dragons and resent humans," Daniel explained. "They are spreading propaganda, saying we are hoarding dragon knowledge for ourselves. So we do the opposite. We share everything, freely, with everyone." Kyle's eyes lit up. "An open database. All our research, all the dragon knowledge that is safe to share, are available to every species." "And we broadcast Viridian's poisoning investigation publicly," Amy added, catching on. "Let the galaxy see who is really working for their benefit and who is trying to keep them sick and ignorant." Hannah spoke up, her voice nervous but determined. "Ember and I have been working on a translation matrix. Dragon language is complex, but we think we can make their historical records accessible to anyone. Thousands of years of art, science, and philosophy." "Do it," Sarathiel said. "All of it. Let the conspiracy hide in shadows while we stand in the light." Over the next 2 weeks, the bonded pairs worked around the clock. Linda and Victor compiled every medical breakthrough into a freely accessible database. Kyle and Hannah created translation software that let any species read dragon texts, while Peter and Zephyr flew diplomatic missions to a dozen worlds, inviting their scientists to collaborate. Sophie and Mercy set up free medical clinics in impoverished sectors. Meanwhile, Amy and Jake investigated Viridian's poisoning. Shadow's enhanced senses could detect chemical traces that regular scanners missed. They followed the trail carefully, documenting everything. Daniel and Chironth became the public face of the Alliance. They gave interviews, visited schools, and demonstrated the bond's benefits. Daniel showed how he could now solve complex mathematical problems by accessing Chironth's 1,000-year memory. Chironth displayed how he understood human emotion and creativity in new ways through their link. The galaxy watched, fascinated. Then came the breakthrough. Jake and Shadow found the evidence, a paper trail leading from the Purity Coalition to the poisoning, the sabotage attempts, and more. They had been funding pirate raids on dragon-human cooperative missions. They had bribed officials to spread anti-dragon propaganda. They had even tried to hire assassins to kill bonded pairs. Amy presented the evidence at a live broadcast Galactic Council session. The proof was undeniable. Within hours, 12 high-ranking members of the Purity Coalition were arrested. Their financial backers were exposed, pharmaceutical companies and weapons manufacturers who profited from keeping the galaxy divided and sick. The scandal rocked the galactic community. But something unexpected happened. Instead of turning against the Alliance, most species rallied behind it. They had seen the good that dragon-human cooperation could do. They had benefited from free medicine and knowledge. They did not want to return to the old ways. Viridian recovered from his poisoning, thanks to a treatment developed by Linda and Mathera working together. His first public appearance afterward was at the embassy, where he personally thanked every bonded pair. "You saved more than my life," he said to Daniel. "You saved the idea that different species can work together for the common good. That is worth any sacrifice." 2 months later, Daniel stood with Chironth on a platform overlooking Earth. They had returned to Daniel's homeworld for the opening of the first Dragon-Human Academy. Students from across the galaxy had applied, wanting to learn cooperation and bonding techniques. 50 young dragons had emerged from hiding to serve as teachers and potential bondmates. Even the program had been so successful that 3 other species had requested similar academies on their worlds. "We did it," Daniel said aloud, watching children play in the courtyard below, while dragons taught classes in the buildings behind them. "We actually changed things." "You changed things," Chironth corrected gently. "Your choice to help one wounded dragon started all of this. Never underestimate the power of a single act of compassion." Amy, Kyle, and Linda joined them on the platform. They watched the sunset together, the 4 humans who had started this journey, and the dragon who had made it possible. "What happens next?" Kyle asked. "More species are requesting dragon advisors," Amy said. "The Kresh want to learn dragon combat philosophy. The Luminar want to study dragon dimensional travel. And I have 17 new species asking to participate in medical trials, Linda added. We are going to save so many lives. Daniel smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility and the joy of accomplishment mixing together. Through his bond with Kyrinth, he felt the same emotions reflected back, multiplied by the dragon's ancient perspective. What happens next is we keep doing what we started, Daniel said. We keep showing the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conflict, that compassion is more powerful than greed, that one person choosing to do the right thing can change everything. Kyrinth spread his wings, now fully healed and stronger than ever. The setting sun caught the purple scales, making them glow with inner fire. The old dragon councils used to say that the universe bends toward those with courage to care, Kyrinth said, his voice filling their minds with warmth. I never truly understood that until I met you, Daniel Cooper, until I met all of you. As night fell over Earth, the first bonded pairs flew together across the sky, dragons and humans moving as one. Below, in the academy, students from 100 worlds studied together, learning that their differences made them stronger, not weaker. The galaxy had been shocked when a human rescued a wounded dragon. But what happened next shocked them even more. It showed them that kindness could bridge any gap, that friendship could overcome any obstacle, and that the smallest act of compassion could light up the entire universe. And in a quiet cave on a distant planet called Drakkar 7, where it all began, crystal formations still glowed with soft light, a reminder of the day when everything changed because one person chose to help instead of walk away.